And it is finally here. Here we are, like I promised you. This one took a lot longer to make than anyone I made in the past because this one I had a lot of extra stuff put into it. Today, we are finally, after so long, back to another mini documentary on a topic I like. Now, these always, as I explained before, take a lot more time because these require research, verifying the research, putting it together in a big script to see how it sounds and, pin the story in a good timeline. And even, sometimes, like in today's documentary, get people to help out. And it's finally here. Today, we are going to be covering the story on the development of due to many things, we have to now accept as Jak 4, Jak the Lost Frontier. This game has always fascinated me, and even a few months ago I picked it up on my little PS Vita and chose to play through it to get the real experience of what it was like getting this game back at the time. I have things to say about it, but I thought that wouldn't be enough. I thought it'd be way more interesting to get a full, dedicated deep dive from beginning to end of how this game even came to be to begin with. I am a huge Jak and Daxter fan, so this is a really big topic for me. And also for today's episode, I got a little help. My co-host on Chill Couch, and also he has appeared on this channel as well. He was the quote reader in my very first ever mini doc, The Story of Brash Entertainment, and he has returned. That's right, Big Stingray will also be helping me out with this as well. Check him out. A link to his Twitch will be in the description below. He does streaming, and he will be in this episode to do two things for me. He will be explaining the Ratchet and Clank side of the story, because he grew up with that series, unlike me, and will, like last time, be reading the quotes that pop up. So special thanks to him, but enough of all that talk. Let's get into it. In 2002, on the PS2, Ratchet & Clank was born, becoming a smash hit for Insomniac Games, but not without problems. The game went through development hell, from being a completely different idea originally, from what they first planned out and what they even first pitched to Sony, to having to learn a new console, to even having to learn new mechanics as well. There was all sorts of stuff they had to learn just for this game. Action platforming, shooting mechanics, a whole new shooting control system for if you're ever in a tight spot, even having to do massive map creation as long as creating a more ambitious story than what they have in the past. In the end of the day, it worked out, but in return caused a lot of crunch. The crunch to get the game out was very, very hard, causing lots of the developers to be overworked to the bone to get it done. It even caused one man to grow upset, Roberto Rodriguez, who hated the grind and rushed game development and preferred taking time on a game to get to focus on the detail and the gameplay to create, in his own words, actual art. And with design director Leslie Matheson, who was a big part of even putting together Ratchet & Clank to begin with, Leslie teamed up with Roberto and teamed up to create, in the following year of 2003, with some other developers from Insomniac Games, and all together formed High Impact Games.
We don't believe you can make good video games in an assembly line fashion. Our company would never feel like a corporate office with meetings, middle management, and bureaucracy. It's more like a clubhouse for talented, hardworking people who want to make great games. It is not a place for big egos.
Thanks to their history working on the Ratchet & Clank series and experience, Sony right away tapped them to work on their brand new PSP to make spin-off Ratchet & Clank games to really sell how powerful Sony's first ever portable console really was. Ratchet & Clank Size Matters in 2007, and later in the following year, Secret Agent Clank. Now, I didn't grow up with these games. I was just all Jak and Daxter when I was a kid growing up. But luckily, my co-host on Chill Couch, Big Stingray, did grow up with the series, and he was a huge Ratchet & Clank fan growing up. So I'm going to quickly toss it over to him to give you thoughts on these games and how they were.
Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation Portable was a daunting task. You're taking a beloved franchise, dumbing it down to a portable version at the time, which was revolutionary. The PSP was crazy. I enjoyed the Ratchet and Clank Size Matters a lot when I was a kid. I had it on the PSP, obviously, and it felt like Ratchet and Clank. It felt like the first game. You're going on adventures, planet to planet, fighting fauna, fighting robots. Like it was a fun game for what it was. And if I'm like on the train or on the bus, whip out that good old PlayStation Portable, and bam, immersed right into the Ratchet and Clank series. Same thing with like Secret Agent Clank. It felt like a good spin-off. In this Ratchet and Clank 2, we see. Was it 2? No, it was 3. We see Clank, in a TV show starring him because he's a superhero, and being able to like immerse yourself in that TV show inside of a video game is pretty cool. But Ratchet is like in prison. There's like special mini games you play as Ratchet, which I loved to death at the time. Very innovative, very like it just creativity. He was very creative for the time. And just being able to dumb it down to a mobile version, which you can't even tell half the time, because they ported it to the next gen consoles, PS5, and I think on the PS4 too, but I'm not too sure. Those games were great, and I remember I replayed Ratchet and Clank, Secret Agent Clank, on the PS5, and it was great. Just remember it's just exactly how I remembered it.
Anyways, both games were later ported to the PS2 during the console's ending last few years, and actually did pretty well. Some even gained praise, saying that High Impact Games really knew how to make a portable, and it felt like Ratchet & Clank, as Big Stingray said, really feel like Ratchet & Clank on the PSP. It felt like a Ratchet & Clank adventure, just smaller for the portable. So, with all this fame and good work on a portable, they seemed like a good choice to Naughty Dog to help them with their slowly growing problem. In 2005, Naughty Dog finally ended the Jak series with a fun little bonus Death Reigns video game called Jak X, after they wrapped up the story with Jak 3 before. During this time, Naughty Dog was really interested in testing their skills on trying to make a portable game for the PSP, as they had never done portable game development before. So when Jak X was finished up, they formed a team from the Jak X developers to get started on this idea. Well, later on, they were busy working on something new for Sony's next console that was coming soon. They decided to form these two separate teams, one just to work on this PSP adventure, while their main team focused on the next big thing. Sadly, this caused most of their time and effort to be spent learning on the hardware of the PSP and the PS3 combined, while they had to write all new tools, with very little progress being made on the games themselves. People within the company began to get very stressed out, and many even outright quit Naughty Dog due to all this stress. With the studio rapidly losing developers, it was decided that one of the projects would have to be dropped, so the two teams could combine and work together with full support as one unit once again. For the studio to survive, this was really the only option. Naughty Dog decided to put their whole team and focus on what later became Uncharted on the PS3, starting all over and a new next generation of gaming. However, they didn't want all their work they had done on the PSP to go to waste, and decided to hand Jak 4 off to High Impact Games to finish it off for them, having total faith in them due to their work on Ratchet & Clank on the handhelds in the past, which kickstarted full development on what we now know as Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier. To be fair to High Impact Games, they stuck very closely to what Naughty Dog has started before handing it off to them. Naughty Dog did want the game to be built around air combat due to thinking they did more than enough with vehicles in the past with cars. And even the story hits mostly the same beats. Even Europa and their people were all written by Naughty Dog in the original draft of the story. Hell, even the idea of the Lost Frontier, where the precursors stopped adding to the world, creating the edge of the world that's all floating around and unfinished, was also Naughty Dog's idea. Even half of the cutscenes were finished with the original voice of Jack himself, Mike Irwin, voicing the scenes. Now, here is where the changes come. First, Jack's voice was changed to Josh Keaton. This was a choice made from High Impact themselves when they took over development. Now, no one at all can find out 100% why they switched all the voices. All we get are theories from fans and other people thinking that, well, maybe due to restructuring and the game having to be a much smaller budget and smaller development scale, that they just had to swap things around. Once again, all theory, this is not confirmed. But let me make one thing clear. I love Josh Keaton. Spectacular Spider-Man is to me the best Spider-Man cartoon ever made. Yeah, that's right, fight me. And Josh Keaton is an amazing voice actor, and I love hearing him in anything. But he just doesn't fit Jack. Jack is supposed to be a dark, broken hero. He's supposed to be somebody that was full of wonder that slowly broke over time due to what happened to him in the events of Jack 2 and 3. Due to lots of betrayal, he ended up changing, becoming more mean. I mean, here's a comparison right here.
Oh, I'll miss you boys. It's nice to have faces to go with the voices.
You want to come with us? Off the island, I mean.
No. Oh, no. I've got inventions to tend to. Besides, it's far too dangerous out there.
Well, then we'll come back for you when you're ready.
If you're good with mechanics, I mean, my ship could really...
Listen, son, I took a look at that ship of yours. The fusion rods are shot to Shiloh without a little juice. Well, you're stuck here with me.
Oh, please tell me you can fix the plane.
It's not horrible, but it's just... he was more down and serious when Josh Keaton is just his typical Spider-Man joyful voice. This is the voice I would expect any Phantom or Spider-Man to have, not Jack. Still love Josh Keaton, but yeah, you didn't work for Jack, and this decision always bothered me. Anyways, they also decided to add a bonus plot about Daxter getting double Dark Eco for some reason. High Impact Games claims they added this so they can mix up and add more variety to the gameplay. Now, one thing that was found out was, to get the game done faster, High Impact Games literally just reused the Ratchet & Clank Size Matters engine. I mean, this was their third time using it. They did the same thing to get Secret Agent Clank done. And you know what? You can tell. There are many moments in here where there are only things here that I can see in a Ratchet & Clank game, but not a Jack game. The armor system of getting different types of armor, the upgrade skill tree in your inventory, the upgrading your ship and stuff. These are cool things and I actually loved it. I loved upgrading my ship and having all these extra abilities that I can add on to Jack. But these were clear as day Ratchet & Clank things, not really Jak and Daxter things. Not bad, it's just you can tell something was off. However, whatever said about High Impact Games, be rest assured, High Impact Games worked hard to ensure that Jak and Daxter remained true to their established personalities and motivations. They consulted with Naughty Dog almost weekly to maintain consistency with the core trilogy. High Impact Games said that their goal was to bring Jak and Daxter back to the original theme and roots of the precursor legacy, the very first game, to get fans reinterested in Jak, even saying that this game was never meant to be a sequel. It was meant to be more of a bridge to connect Jak to the true Jak 4 down the line, whenever that may be. And, well, it shows. There are many moments here where you can tell it's just trying to be the first Jak again, which I don't mind. These are the parts where I think the game flourishes. I love being able to use the eco powers again. I love the eco power-ups, the using shielding and the yellow one to do a fire blast off like Iron Man, the green one to give you shielding and stuff like that, the red one to make big explosions that when you shoot at it. The blue one, yeah, the blue one to make things slow-mo around you. I use that one a lot. I love the idea and I don't mind eco being a new thing again, but it's kind of off with what 2 and 3 left us with. I don't mind it, and even the look was fine. But all this said and done, when everything was finally wrapped up on Jak the Lost Frontier, it finally came out in 2009 to the PSP and PS2 at the same time. To, well, let's just say mixed reactions. When the game came out, the game actually sold really well. It sold 4 million units right away, being, no joke, one of the highest sellers in the whole series as a whole. But it got very poor to just okay reactions from fans and critics. The okay reviews literally came from only praising the game's function on the PSP, as another impressive sight for the PSP. You know, what the PSP could do for a handheld, but that was really it. Most fans tore it apart, saying it was not the Jak and Daxter they wanted, and, well, with Naughty Dog moving on to create a whole new experience on the next Sony console, Sony decided from the critic reaction to not hire Impact Games again and dropping them because, they weren't going to move forward with the PSP or anything like that in the future, causing High Impact Games to get only a few movie license game jobs. They got a DreamWorks go-kart game and worked on a Crash Bandicoot racing game, which was in development, but Activision shut it down, just not being interested, and also passing on even an original idea they were creating on their own, but could not find any potential partners that would be willing to fund it. Due to this, all potential partners moved away from hiring them, and their last game ever made ended up being these two titles for Disney. Their last game ever was a Disney Princess game for the Wii. That is funny. But I have looked at the game, it does not look that bad, I've seen worse. As for Jak and Daxter, well, Naughty Dog said even they weren't happy with The Lost Frontier. They said themselves,
at the time, it looked like they were going to be able to do a pretty good job with it. I don't want to say anything disparaging. I like the guys at High Impact, but if we had to do it over again, we would have done some things differently in the execution of The Lost Frontier. I'm not happy with that being Jak's swan song. I think we could have done a lot better.
Yeah, so this disappointment with the game caused Naughty Dog to actually kickstart work on a true Jak 4 later on for the PS3. They even pitched it to Sony and Sony agreed. But due to a whole collection of mixed ideas and not being able to come to an agreement on anything as a team on what the vision of Jak 4 should be, well, they chose to drop it instead in favor of a brand new, more serious, story-driven story, The Last of Us, which, well, if we're being honest, after how big of a deal that game was when it came out and how much of a hit it was, I guess that was the good call. Naughty Dog has reported that one day they would love to return to Jak and Daxter and would love to give it a true finale, but until that day comes, Jak, for now, the official ending of this series is The Lost Frontier. Which means, yes, this counts as the fourth and final entry in this series. And that was the story of Jak and The Lost Frontier. But that's the way things go sometimes. Luckily, they have moved on. Roberto himself has moved on with his cohort Leslie to make Moby games and to work in other ventures, so most of the team made it unscathed, but for those behind the trenches that didn't make it, we salute you. But for all that and more, I hope you guys enjoyed. Are there any games you guys want me to dive into next, to explain the story of? Or even for Jetpack Retro or anything else, is there anything else you want me to just do a regular deep dive or an episode of Jetpack Retro on? Please let me know. And in the comments below, tell me yourself, what was your guys' honest thoughts of this game? Were you also a massive Jak and Daxter fan like me and were slightly disappointed or thought it was a suitable fourth game? Or were you like Big Stingray, were you a Ratchet & Clank fan, and then you play this, you know similarities, and due to that you also liked it more? What were your thoughts on Ratchet & Clank Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank? Did you agree with Big Stingray, or do you have your own opinions on it? I would genuinely love to hear it. I love going to all your guys' comments and having this back and forth of us just talking about these things we enjoy and our own thoughts. It really is fun to read. So please let me know. Like, subscribe, everything that, supports me in these times. And, I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.